I step into the shadowed hush of the night shift, the only soul behind the counter, the fluorescence humming overhead like a heartbeat that never stops. The stillness weighs heavy, pressing against my ears. 3 stories pulse in my mind, each a vivid, trembling heartbeat of terror. I'll carry you into each one, show you what it feels like to be utterly, terrifyingly alone at work when the darkness turns on you. Listen closely, feel the cold breath on your neck, the rise and fall of your pulse, the dread that creeps and coils inside your chest. The first story begins at the convenience store on the edge of a forgotten highway. Imagine a small shop, stocked with neon snacks, the cash register blinking 12:07 a.m., ringing out in a cavern of silence. The girl working that night was named Marla. She was 22, fresh to the night shift, full of filtered smiles and nervous energy. It wasn't her first night, but it would be her last. Marla noticed it first as a soft tapping against the window by the door. Quiet, deliberate. Her reflection in the glass stared back, wide-eyed. She rushed behind the counter, eyes darting to the CCTV monitors, pixelated images of aisles, frozen in monotony. No movement outside, nothing but stillness. She blinked, and on the monitor, a figure appeared in the parking lot. Pale, elongated, cracking chalk white against the darkness. It wasn't there a moment before. Marla's heart pounded, a staccato drum in her throat. She flicked the front door light switch. Nothing changed. The figure remained, unmoving, watching. The intercom buzzed. Her radio crackled with the dispatcher's voice checking in. She forced composure into her voice, told him all was quiet. The screen flickered. The figure pressed a hand to the glass. Its fingers splayed, impossibly long, skin stretched thin.
No reflection.
Just gray dusk skin, pressed tight. Marla's breath caught. She stumbled back. The tapping quickened. Tap, 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 now against the glass. She realized, in bone-freezing clarity, that someone was outside, watching, waiting, and she was alone. She dialed 911. Mouths of words formed but caught in her dry throat. The operator's voice was calm, soothing. She tried to explain, but her voice wavered, breaking, cracking. The tapping stopped. Silence consumed everything. Marla's gaze snapped back to the monitor. The figure was gone. No footsteps in the lot, no car, no headlights. Nothing. The door was locked, the windows secure. She stared, breath shaking, tears pooling, computing the impossible. The dispatcher called again. She screamed, because the figure was right there, pressed face first against the glass, eyes wide, teeth millimeters from the plastic, like something drawn from nightmares. Then nothing. Vanished. No footsteps, no outline, no trace. The only evidence, a single smeared fingerprint on the glass and Marla's ragged breaths filling the quiet store. You know that icy kiss of fear when you realize you've shared a space with the impossible? The second story unfolds at an isolated hospital's late-night records office. A woman named Carla. She worked in the basement, where the files were stacked floor to ceiling, corridors dim, lights buzzing. At 2:13 a.m., the paging system chimed, a code green in radiology. Carla punched the buzzer to release the elevator. Like clockwork it shuddered, doors sliding open. She stepped in, pressed the button to go up, and waited. The doors closed, dimming the basement's pale glow, ushering her into steel-gray silence. The elevator lurched, but instead of rising, it began descending. The basement only had 1 floor, so she thought perhaps there was an extra sub-basement level. The buttons weren't lit. The car rattled, groaned. The lights flickered. Then the doors opened, though nowhere she recognized. A long, narrow hallway, lit by flickering fluorescent strips that hummed lifeless. She pressed the button to close the doors, but they wouldn't budge. A sliver of something moved at the edge of the light. Carla's heart thundered. She leaned, peeking around the doorframe. A nurse's scrubs, a shape halfway down the hall. Moving slowly, too slowly, toneless. She looked human, except for her gait, too jerky, limbs bent at wrong angles. Carla's voice trembled as she called out, "Hey, nurse." But the figure turned. It didn't look at her. Its head tilted, snapped back to straight, like a broken toy. No eyes, just hollow darkness. Carla slammed the elevator button, but nothing. The overhead lights went dead. In the sudden blackout, she heard it, shuffling, rasping, inching towards her. She punched the alarm. The elevator doors rustled shut. The car jolted upward, then free fell, and stopped abruptly, lights snapping back. She was on her floor, shaking, earbuds gone. When she looked back, the doors reopened to show the actual basement. The hallway had never existed. She raced out, drawn by the flickering of a motion sensor light in the records room. She slammed the door behind her, sank to the floor, hands shaking. She didn't check if anyone followed. Her only proof, the shift log recorded her leaving at 2:45, but her time card said she'd returned at 2:16, before she even left. Something had borrowed 3 minutes of her life and shoved her into a corridor that shouldn't exist. Fear isn't about monsters. It's about reality bending when you're utterly helpless. The third story takes place at a small, family-run factory on the outskirts of town. The lone night guard, Raj, patrolled inside the dim cavern of machinery, stamping presses, gears that glinted under yellow industrial bulbs. His flashlight beam hopped across catwalks, crates, the dust dancing. He'd been there 6 hours, counting the hums, the far battles of gears. At 3:02 a.m., he heard it, a soft, metallic clang from the second-floor storage mezzanine. He pointed his beam upward. Nothing. He shook his head, chalked it up to fatigue, and resumed patrol. Then, footsteps echoed behind him, hollow, heavy.
Raj spawn.
Nothing. He clicked the radio to ask the front office if they were sending someone. Static hissed back. He tried again, still broken. He decided to investigate. Climbing the stairs, the beam swept across rows of machinery and stopped at a figure hunched among the electrical panels. A woman. Raj swallowed. He didn't know any female employees on night shift. He called down, "Hey, miss, sorry, you're not allowed up here." The figure stood, slowly turned. Raj's light revealed her face, contorted, frozen in an expression of agony and despair. Her eyes glowed, reflected light, not life. The hairs rose on Raj's arms. Her mouth opened in a silent scream, but no sound came. He cursed, spun around, dashed for the stairs. Behind him, footsteps crashed down the stairs in heavy, uneven beats, like boots made of lead dragging across metal. He chased breathlessly down the steps, furniture rattling above, his heartbeat in his ears. He reached the ground floor, bolted to the office, and locked himself in. The door rattled. The footsteps thundered up and down in a macabre rhythm. He pressed himself against the desk, barely breathing. After minutes that felt like lifetimes, they stopped. The silence thickened, smothering. He finally looked up, the door clicked. He looked around, no one. No woman.
No footsteps.
Just the wild pounding of his own pulse. He didn't stay. At dawn he left, trembling, shaken. The only confirmation he had, the surveillance footage was wiped clean, every camera blind at exactly 3:05 a.m. The footage wasn't just blurry, it was erased. Someone or something did not want to be seen. 3 stories, 3 souls, bound by the night shift, a time when the world recedes, the light dulls, and the lonely become prey to things that lurk between the hum of the air conditioner and the whisper of the hallway. Think of Marla, gripping that counter with all her strength, skin crawling when her own eyes could not betray the horror outside. Of Carla, trapped in a shaft of metal, cast into a corridor no architect drew, no doctor designed. And Raj, fleeing from a featureless face, hearing footsteps that had no owner, chased by silence, swallowed by darkness. I ask you, close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You're alone, blinking at the artificial glow of your workplace, the only companion the tick of a clock. You sense that something is watching, something marginal, not fully there, just past the threshold of sight and sense. You want to reach out, but the phone line hums dead, the elevator refuses to answer, the toast of the speaker offers only static. You want to turn, run, cry, but the sinews of your spine freeze, frozen by shy adrenaline, by the magnetic charge of unimaginable presence. Picture the shape in the darkness outside the convenience store, its hand pressed to the glass with that stench of night cold, the corridor that opens only to you in the bowels of a building meant for reasons, not this. The sound behind you in a place where no one should be, breathing, dragging, hunting. The late hours twist the mind, the soul, the spirit. You begin to question what's real. When the world is asleep, the thin veil between the living and the unknown becomes so fragile, so taut, and every shadow, every echo, every flicker becomes a threat. It doesn't take a roaring monster. It barely takes a breath, a cadence of something just behind you, to drown out your sense of safety. It doesn't take a roar. It takes a whisper, a reflection missing from your eyes, a corridor that shouldn't exist, footsteps that belong to no one, a face that shouldn't be there.
Can you feel it?
Your pulse quickening, your palms growing clammy. Because these stories aren't fantasies. They started in flickering fluorescent light, with children you've never met, but their fear is the same as yours. Vulnerable, isolated. And beneath all that, what frightens most is not the entity, it's the awareness of how alone you are. Alone, when the world has turned off its lights, and something else turned on. These stories are warnings, bookmarks in the tattered autobiography of solitary workers who paid attention to the scratch, the flash, the angular figure that shouldn't be there. And the most frightening part, there's no ending because the night is still out there, and it listens.